Okay, I thought I'd do a quick video on the actual equipment. Now this kind of looks a mess. I just got finished switching out this pasture paddock. We're giving them a little bit bigger spaces because this grass quality is not as good. So they're having to work a little harder, a lot of thorns, a lot of broom straw. So they're digging down in there trying to get any kind of grass or anything like that, which is fine. We're getting close to December, so I'm okay with that. So I have seen a couple questions about posts and poly tape versus poly braid. So I have a good combination of different types of equipment. Now, obviously there's all kinds of different stuff out there. A lot of it's personal preference, but I thought I would kind of show how I use each piece. And if you have a better way, please let me know, because I am still trying to figure this out. So I have two different reels. I have this one, this is the cheaper reel, and then that one's a geared reel. So this right here is poly tape. It's thicker, or I'm sorry, wider, but thinner. Now this here is, it's blurry. This here is poly braid. So I call it poly rope, but so it kind of looks like rope, and this conducts really well. It also doesn't catch the wind as much, so it can be really windy, but this won't really go anywhere. When it is really windy with this tape, it will blow a significant distance. So that can be problematic, especially for us. We get a lot of wind where we are. Oh, here we go. So do you see how that's moving? So there's the wind, and then I'm coming over here, and you can see, look here. Do you see how that tape over there is shaking in the wind? The braid's not moving. Now that was a real light breeze. So when we get upwards of 20, 30, 40 mile an hour winds, you can really tell that's moving, braid's not moving. So if you've got a lot of wind, it may make a difference. So I use these temporary posts. What I have is I have a black and gray. Both of these I bought at Tractor Supply. So there's a black and gray, and here are, let me stuff these in so I can sit back and show you the differences, why I like which one and for what reason. Okay, so two different types of posts. They've been through the ringer. We've been using them for a while now. What I've noticed is with these white posts, so you can see right here on this top, the clip, there is actually a clip here that holds the tape or the braid in. On this top wire, it's busted. And it's also, because it pulls in the wind and things like that, this plastic isn't as strong. So this is gonna come loose like that, and it just slips right off. The pedals break pretty easily, and they also bend. So I don't know how straight that one is, decently straight, but I have others that are like banana shaped. They don't recover from being bent very well. Now, these black and grays, they have this double, let me try to get it to focus. Just wanting to focus on the grass behind it. There we go. So it's got, I cannot, phone is not wanting to focus on this little post. So it's got this clip right here like that, and then it's got a similar clip to the other one. It's got a little stay right there. I'm sorry, this is, there we go. So you can see if it stops wiggling, the way it has that same clip, but it also has this clip here now, and then they're the same all the way down. And then it also has this step-in foot, which works great until it breaks like that one. Now they can still be used the way I use them when it's broken, and honestly the way I use it when it's not broken is, and you literally cannot see me doing this, but I lean on the top, kind of like a crutch, and push it down. So that goes in. Now, if I can lean on it like a crutch, but also use the foot pedal, that works much better. But if you lean on the foot pedal and put all your weight on that foot pedal, it will break. It'll break every time. Now, that's not even including if you're in solid ground, frozen ground, hard compacted ground, like the middle of this track right here is compacted. That thing's gonna break. So you really have to put it up under your armpit like a crutch, push it down, and then use your foot, if you still have the foot pedals, as a reinforcement. So the other thing I wanted to show you is how I actually put these into each one, which again, sounds really simple until you can't figure out why your tape's falling or it's catching the wind and all your animals are out. So the way I do this is I want as much tension in between. So I have a post there and it's already hooked in, and a post here. Now, for some of you that have been doing this your whole life, or you've been doing it for years, this probably isn't very helpful. You probably already knew this. You're probably thinking, how did she not know that? Well, I'm first generation doing this stuff. Never used poly anything. So it took me a little while before I figured out how to use these posts. But now that I know how to use them, I actually kind of like them. So I pull as much tension as I can to here. So now I've got tension. So you see here, I can kind of pull, that flexes a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this. Okay. I'm trying to do this one-handed, which is turning out to not be very effective. I am going to, let's see here. I'm going to have to get creative. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into an S, pop it in there, pull it tight, and then pop it through here to lock it in. Now, that's locked in. So, you can see how I've threaded that. And then sometimes that little clip right there will catch some of your wiring. So I kind of pop it down and then down to get it off. Now, when I'm using this one, ideally you just pop it right in. So like this one's not broken, so you can just pop it right in. Now, that's great, but you're not going to get tension on this at all, which is fine. If you're just going to be having it sag a little bit, you just want to hold it up off the ground at a certain level, that works perfectly fine. And then to take it out, same thing. That's the way I do it. But now this one is problematic because it's going to pop loose. So what I do is I give it an extra twist. And it's going to stay. It's not ideal, but I'm going to get a little bit more tension going there so that this isn't quite so loose and sagging. And then it comes right off. Now I'm going to move these over to some tape. I decided to do it right here because I've got tape and braid that come together. So I'm going to push the stake in. This one has a foot pedal, so I'm going to put the majority of my weight on the top. Now, same concept. Let's see if I can't get set up to show this to you. I'm going to pull it like an S and then clip it in. And then there's that same concept as the braid. It actually works much better with the tape. You can change the resistance and how much tension you get. And if you go and get a good amount of tension at each post, it's going to hold a lot better. Now with the with the poly tape, if you do have poly tape and you are in a high wind area, I find that it helps to put more posts in so your spacings aren't as far apart. Let me take that one off so that I can show you this one. Now, this is where it really gets annoying. So that's not really doing anything for you because it's going to slide right out. Now, you can go down one. That helps. So that's the other negative part about this black and gray. You have 4 options. They're not spaced very close together. We run just one wire. If I can convince my husband to get minis, I will definitely need to run another line lower down, but right now everyone respects the tape at the top line. I can put it here, which is fine. And it does clip in there, so you can see how it catches. Now, gotta get it out of there. I'm doing all this one-handed. If I'm coming to a spot like this, I'm on a row, I don't have any more black and grays, I only have a white left, or I'm too lazy to walk back up and get more, and I don't want this necessarily, I have a couple options. One, I can pull it on around like I did before. So that gives me tension. It's not gonna wiggle as much. Now I'm constantly moving this stuff around. So if you have a more permanent setup, or I guess semi-permanent because you're using temporary fencing, but you don't move your system frequently and you want to be able to pull some of the slack out, you're not going to be able to pull the slack out. So here, so I don't have those wrapped, I can really pull on that and gather some tension here. But here, because I have it wrapped, I'm just pulling the post. It's not going anywhere, which is good for me. And it also helps if you have some line and you got a little bit too much sag, you can just walk up here. If I decide, I don't like how much sag is in here, I can just come through, give it a wrap around. Again, tricky to do it. I'm gonna need like a GoPro or something. Wrap it in place, and now I've got a lot less sag in that line. So that's one quick fix. But you end up with quite a bit of material wrapped around your post if that's the way you're doing your quick fix all the time, which is fine. But now you can see how tight that is. You've bowed that one out. I've bowed that one out quite a bit, which I don't necessarily want that. So I'm gonna pop that loose. It's still bowed out pretty hard. The other option for this white one, and you can do it for the black and gray, but it doesn't really do much. So if I'm gonna do this post, what I can do is I can turn it perpendicular to the line of the tape. And now I kind of put a little bit of a crease in. So it is still gonna slide for me. I can manipulate it, but it just gives it a little bit more resistance than it did when it was parallel to when it's just running through there like that, straight, in a straight line there. So those are just some quick fix ways that I've found to kind of create some additional tension in the line, get my line a little tighter. And sometimes I care, sometimes I don't care. Like right here, you can see how I'm sagging some there, and that's okay. It's not really a big deal. So I have two different reels here as well. So this reel is the cheaper reel, and then this reel is the geared reel. This one's significantly more expensive. It's also larger, it holds more than that one. Once I get my full track system set up, I'm trying to eliminate needing the reels, because the reels are pricey and they jump up your equipment costs substantially. So if I can get my track system set up without having to use a lot of reels, or be able to use just like an extension cord reel, which are pretty cheap, to just hold a little bit of excess. But if you're storing an entire 1,600 feet or 800 feet of material, you need the reels. And if you're unrolling and rolling and doing all that kind of stuff, then it is really beneficial. Another thing, so we have two electrical boxes set up with this system. And so one thing to know is, if these lines are too close together, they will communicate. It will jump, and you'll actually be able to hear it. It has a loud like crack or spark sound. So what I try to do is I try to create a little bit of tension. This reel's all messed up. It's not gonna work. I'll have to fix that in a minute. So you don't want the tape touching any kind of metal and grounding out. This isn't the best method, but it works. That's too busy. They won't try to manipulate that portion of the fence at all. And then there's one more type of post that we use, and we don't use them a lot. We have a few of them, and I'll come down here and show you. They work okay. They're good for corners, and that's really the only place we use them. We use them in the corners if there's a lot of pull, because I really don't like the post bending. And these, so this right here, that one's really bent. It's a pigtail, so it is much more hardy. It is metal. It's got a metal step in, and then what helps to do with this one is to really put it in at an angle. So I put it in almost at a 45-degree angle, which allowed it to straighten up with the tension that is coming away from. So the big deal with this one, you want the closed part of the loop going towards whatever corner you're doing. So you just pop it off that way. Now if I were to turn it around, it wouldn't hold. And then you just slide it over and then it holds your corners really nicely. So then you can see this one, I've got a partially broken step in, which in the corner makes it a little bit of a pain. So you can see that there's quite a bit of variance in how these posts stand up straight. Now, we put these up really quick because these are all temporary. This track has gone over this entire field over the past 30 days, and we still have another about 2 weeks on this field before we move over to another field, and then all this fencing is going to go away. So we don't spend a substantial amount of time. We want to make sure that it's secure and it's in the ground well, but other than that, we don't really get too precise, or at least I try not to. I can get a little, my perfectionism kicks in a little bit, and then you finally start realizing that there is some variance and it's okay. So that's how we use our equipment. And those are the things I've learned over the past few months of setting up fences and moving fences every day. If you have any tips or ways that you use it that you have found works better, or you want to share that, I would love to learn better ways of doing stuff. I'm all about working smarter, not harder. All right, guys.